right, everybody, we've got a very special guest for you all. Everybody, please welcome to the show, Terri Lynn, just Terri Lynn G.
Yeah,
Gedanitz.
Gedanitz. You got it. I knew he was
She,
about to say it. I knew it.
she gave me a way to remember it before the show, and then, as Mike predicted, it stuck in my head, and then I
Yeah.
forgot the actual name.
Yeah,
So,
that's okay.
welcome, Terri.
You would think that we've done this once or twice in the past, but I have a feeling for these things. I know Chris is gonna mess up. It's okay. It's okay. Well, thank you for being here, Terry Lynn. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for
Um,
having me.
and it is your first time on the podcast, so we have to do the annoying thing of putting you through the gauntlet and asking, how you got into comics and creating Karmic and such. Where did all that kind of start for you? Making comics.
Well, my son was into like bones and graphic novels and that sort of thing. I wasn't really so much into that at all, but
Hmm.
the character itself, like I thought about 7 years ago. So
Okay.
it took me quite some time to actually develop the character and then hiring the illustrators to draw out the book and whatnot. But originally I actually wrote scripts. So
Hmm.
the visual medium was just what was normal for me. So I was able to originally when I first wrote Karmic, I actually wrote it as a TV pilot,
Okay.
and then I turned that into the actual book and whatnot. So I don't really have a lot of background in comics per se, just
Hmm.
in visual storytelling.
And it's Chris and I have talked about this with other guests before of that work in film and TV, which you yourself do. But you feel that writing a script for a pilot or such is pretty easy to translate to a comic. Is there some similarities there for cinematography and how a shot should look and things like that?
Well, when it comes to like, the visual concept of it and
Hmm.
different scenes and whatnot, there's some similarities. I did find it was a little bit more complicated because you don't really have like the actual moving parts of it, right? It's all very still images, and you have to really interpret that message in these little still images. I mean, thankfully, my illustrator was very good at putting the the script into actual visual still format to tell the story, right? So it is different, but it's similar in the fact that it is a visual medium. It's not just like a regular book where I can type out a bunch of words and whatnot. People are just reading it, right? So
Right.
it's
Right.
similar. It gave me a little bit of a head start in developing the graphic novel. Yeah, I wanted to develop the graphic novel mainly because the graphic novels and comic books have a larger market, right? They sell more per
Correct.
book as opposed to just a regular book. And of course, when it comes to different movies like Marvel and whatnot, they actually take those concepts from actual graphic novels and comic books. So I figured
Right.
that it would be a better medium to put it into the graphic novel comic book genre.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree
Yeah, I
with
think
that.
it's one of my favorite writers, Ed Brubaker, recently decided that he's just going to do everything in graphic novels because he's like, I see the number one sales, and then it just drops off from there. So if I'm going to get your money, I'm going to get it for the whole series.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And one of my main points was I do want to make this into a film, so I really wanted to solidify the character itself before I go and I even bother putting it into film and approaching producers with it. So,
Great.
mhm.
Now, can you give us the rundown on what karmic is, and what is this thing that you've kind of
So
created?
Karmic is a female shapeshifter, and she's basically karma incarnated into a female shapeshifter. So I've taken the concept, this mystical, um, not even a being, just this mystical force, and turned it into an actual being to signify, for me, that we are karma characters. So human beings are the ones that fulfill people's karma. It's not really this unknown godly force that comes in and fulfills people's karma. It's people actually go and fulfill it for other people. Like you might have a victim, right? Oh, Munchkin, sorry, my cat.
It's okay.
Uh,
Ours do
you,
the same thing. It's all good.
well, he's actually been sick, so he's
Oh,
yeah, he's feeling better now though.
okay.
Yeah, so what was I saying?
You were talking about how karma's fulfilled.
Yeah, so
Yep.
if you have a victim per
Hmm.
se or whatever, and they have something bad happen to them and they ignore it, what happens is that the next victim, there's going to be multiple other victims afterwards, and it doesn't really stop until one of those victims stands up and actually goes and enforces the justice. So that's kind of the what this character is based on, is just that we as human beings are karma, but I put into this more fantastical concept of her being a shapeshifter and turning to different animals. Later on in the other books, she'll be into different people and whatnot, and she'll obviously have different enemies coming in and governments wanting to study her and that sort of thing. So then it becomes this whole thing where she has to stay uh, hidden from the rest of the world, right? So
Right.
yeah, so basically karmic is karma incarnated. So
Okay. Go ahead,
Interesting.
Chris. Do you have a
I was
question?
saying interesting.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask about the, because you said you started off as a graphic novel here, and is it 60 pages? This first graphic novel?
I believe it was 70 something
Seven. Okay.
pages. I think the
70.
coloring book is about 60
Oh,
pages.
okay, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
The coloring book. There it is. Nice with that amazing cover. Can you talk about the illustration a little bit and how, who you're working with on that?
Originally, I hired a local illustrator, a
Hmm.
Canadian illustrator. She was actually a student, and it took about 2 years for her to do about 15 pages.
Okay.
And I found out later on that she actually was tracing other people's work. So I
Oh,
had to, yeah, so I had to
that's unfortunate.
basically fire her, kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? And then this Alex Moser is the illustrator of the book. He contacted me through Instagram, and
Okay.
he was actually a tattoo artist from Brazil.
Oh, wow.
And just
Interesting.
amazing artist. He just extremely impressed me. I mean, it wasn't cheap for him, like to
Yeah.
hire him, but
Right.
he just did an amazing job and worked with me step by step and put a lot of his own ideas into it as well, right? Like I
Hmm.
gave a lot of freedom to him when it came to like the what the characters looked like and whatnot. And yeah, but he did a really good job. So that took probably about a couple years with him,
Hmm.
just going through, because I'm a really picky person. It's like anything's out of place, like, oh, their nails look wrong, or
Yeah.
her
Right.
hair
Right.
just too dark, it's not blonde enough,
Hmm. Okay.
sort of thing.
It is interesting that you said he's a tattoo artist because
Yeah.
some of the pages that I've seen kind of break away from the normal like comic book page setup with the art, and I mean it really aids to that fantastical storytelling. I mean it's like almost like um, it just when I look at it, it's not something you would see in comics today. So I think he did a great job of that.
Yeah, well, I wanted specifically to be kind of like an art piece to
Hmm.
showcase also the illustrator's talent as well. So a lot of
Mhm.
the things wherever I have a lot of the pages where she's transforming, where they're actually full pages, where
Hmm.
I wanted to see that detail and whatnot. And not only that, I wanted a lot of the pages done so that I could transform them onto merchandise.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's not just, it was like it
Yep.
was supposed to be kind of work together, right? So
Hmm.
a lot of the pages you'll see like a full page of a clock or something, where it's like, it's like a time lapse. I
Hmm.
actually take that and I put that on like t-shirts and sweaters and
Oh
umbrellas
cool.
and that sort of thing, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of that was actually done so that it could go on merchandise. And of course, just for the art quality of it as well. I want
Right.
it to be very more artistic as opposed to a regular, yeah, comic book. Because one thing that a few of my readers have mentioned is that the comic and graphic novel era just seems to be overdone. It's like all repetitive. Everybody's
Hmm.
doing the same thing. So it's like, well,
Right.
why would I not, as an artist, bring something a little bit different to the table?
Yeah. I think that's a cool approach.
Yeah,
And
the art's definitely unique from most of the stuff we see come through
yeah.
Yeah, that
in
was the
both
point.
the mainstream and indie scene.
Hmm.
What I found interesting when reading about it was you say that the she gets her shape-shifting abilities from the gods of old, and then I was kind of looking at the images that you see some of these gods, and in terms of the comic book world, you chose very unique gods for her to get her powers from. So I'd love to hear more about why you chose them and where that idea came from.
So the gods, like in Buddhism, Judaism, Hinduism, even in Egyptian, these are religions that actually believe in karma. And different religions have different meanings of karma. Like some of them is like reincarnation of karma. Western philosophy is more like cause and effect and that sort of thing. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take these religious aspects and I wanted to incorporate it into karmic because karmic is karma. And if I can incorporate all of the different avenues and definitions of karma into the character itself, I thought that would give a more overall look. I do actually have a couple pages in there where I specifically break down the karma in each of those religions that you see in the book of those specific gods, right? And they're not really gods. I mean, they're just religious figures because Buddha is not a god, right? He was just a religious figure, right?
Yeah, and I saw some of those pages on the website that you have with
Mhm.
karma and dharma and then you have
Karma
the
and Dharma, yeah.
yeah, you have those couple pages there, and I think that's good to give a background
Yeah,
on
yeah.
where
And
that comes from.
at any point, does Jason Lee make an appearance?
Who?
Jake.
I'm the only one that's watched My Name Is Earl. Got it.
Yeah, you're the only one. I
No.
forgot. That's what was that was the show he
So
did where he believed in karma, right?
yeah, he got
Yeah.
hit by a car and then believed that because he was a piece of crap his whole life, that karma was getting back at him. So he had to go back and do good deeds
Yeah, that's what
in
the
order
show
to
was based
fulfill
on.
his karmic
Mhm.
deficit. Yeah.
Yeah, that I believe that that would be in I think Judaism, I believe, or wherever would have that kind of philosophy of karma.
Oh,
And
really?
again, that's, that fantastical element that karma is just this force. I specifically say it's when people say, "Oh, I believe in karma," and they think it's a mystical force. I'm like, okay, so then you believe in Santa Claus is basically what it is.
Yeah, that approach, right? Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just personally believe that, good deeds make their way down the line. Like you help somebody, you open a door for somebody and they open a door for somebody else and so on. So like
yeah, the butterfly.
it's not a force, it's more
Butterfly
just
effect.
people
Yeah.
being people. And
Yeah.
Hmm.
I firmly believe that most people are good at heart.
Mhm.
And by helping somebody, you encourage them to help somebody else and moving on
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
line.
well, and it's all about intention, I believe.
You
That's
know?
actually another thing I focus on in the book is people's intentions. If you have bad
Mhm.
intentions, like if you're a predator and you have all these different victims, eventually what happens is that all these victims are it's like a collective, and then they eventually comes right back at you, right? So
Yep.
that's
And so within this story, I mean, you talk about these religious figures and religions and how they view karma. Your version of karma is kind of outside of all of that, right? It's karma in itself, but then you have these religions that have their own interpretation of it or how they use karma, kind of.
So the reincarnation aspect is highlighted with her being planted
Hmm.
from the gods onto planet Earth into a deathly ill lady, right? So that's
Okay.
the reincarnation karma part of it, and then the cause and effect is when she goes into the city and then she sees. She just you can tell when somebody's has bad intentions, like somebody like
Hmm.
a bully will be beating somebody up or whatever it
Right.
is, and she goes and she tries to uh, not she doesn't facilitate the karma herself, but she more so puts it into the direction so that at the end of the book one, they all kind of fulfill the karma together. Like they all get
Okay.
arrested. I don't want to
Okay.
tell the whole story, but
Yeah. Right.
they all
Right.
basically get arrested at the same like all the bad people, and then of course there's the good side of karma as well, right?
Hmm.
Where the good people also get rewarded. So she turns into a cat at one point, where there's a reward for the cat. So she turns into the cat. The person comes and gives this homeless boy a bunch of money, right? So it's she facilitates karma that way, right? Like she's
Okay.
not this
Cool.
horror character where she
Right.
goes and
Yeah.
I'd love to do that one day, but
Yeah. That'd be cool. Maybe a few volumes down the line or something.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. As the
That's
character develops or something, or maybe a different, not genre, but
yeah.
market.
Hmm.
that's when we get
Yep.
to the dark reinterpretation of it
Yeah, there you
down the
go.
line.
The
Well,
dark
that's what I like
universe.
about this character is that she's just so diverse. You can pretty much do anything with her. I can turn her into
Mhm.
a mass murderer type,
Hmm.
karma character as well,
Right.
but it's just not suited for the YA
Right.
uh, market.
And you talk about volume one, and we don't have to spoil everything, but that's kind of where you leave off in the first volume is kind of you've established the powers, the character, and kind of a path forward for the next volumes. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah. So
yeah?
it's basically her just discovering who she is, because she has to first grow up as a human being, right? Like unknown, unbeknownst to her, what her powers are and stuff, right? So she discovers this, and she goes through the regular, normal human trials of being bullied and whatnot, and she starts transforming, but she doesn't know what's happening. And I kind of use that for like she's a teenager. I think she was 17 years old where she starts transforming. And around 17 years old, women go through puberty. It's our way of transforming as a regular human being. And she goes through it where her body starts morphing a little bit. She gets a tail and gets hair on her face and that sort of thing. And then, of course, you got the regular people pointing fingers, oh God, she's diseased and she's a monster and all that sort of thing, right? Which propels her to steer away from the humans and go towards, more with the animals and that sort of thing, and then getting to know the animals. And of course, through each, one thing I wanted to kind of put into place was that she being transforming into an animal, it's not just as easy as just transforming an animal and like transforming into a bird and learning and knowing how to fly. You have to learn how to fly. So she also goes through that training process as well, right?
Yeah. That's something you don't think about as. And I feel like I see that a lot of fantasy stuff that I read with shapeshifters is they shapeshifted into something they've never seen before, and now they can just completely fly across worlds and do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's a little more complicated. Sorry. Munchkin!
It's
Usually
okay.
It's my cat making a ruckus on the show.
Yeah, I know. Chris's cat's usually climbing his comic boxes behind him and stuff. It's pretty fun for me to watch. So,
Really cute.
go ahead, Chris.
I would love to hear a little bit, because I don't know if you can tell by looking at us, but Mike and I aren't exactly the YA audience.
Yeah.
So we do read a lot of YA. Yeah,
we do read some here and there. Was there, going for that audience, was that like something you really seek to do with the book, or what was the decision to go that route with it?
I feel that adults feel that they already know everything, right? So I felt that if I targeted a younger audience, they're more susceptible to being taught. So that's why I targeted the YA, because they're more teachable, they're more open to the concept, as opposed to, because I hear all the time with adults, like, I believe in karma, but it's like it's this mystical force. But if we can teach the younger generation what really it is and take responsibility for their own actions, I might have a better, more success with teaching them for when they grow up, right?
Okay. So it's
Munchkin, come here.
Munchkin, poor kitty. I think that's kind of interesting. Like it's like a life lesson story too, as well, or like a way to. Oh, Munchkin.
He is a Munchkin though. He's got short paws.
Oh, he does. Oh, it's so cute. I love cats. I want to say something about that you said in Volume 1, where Karmic wants to leave the humans behind and go hang out with the animals. I feel that every day in my house. So. Sometimes I go to work and I come back and I'm like, I'd rather see my cat than some of my coworkers.
Still trying to get my army of squirrels together.
I'm a really big animal lover. I actually I lost my other cat in 2018 when I was in Germany. Bibi, you'll see like a little cat in there. She's a Tonkinese, and I actually put her into the book in memory of her as well. So like she's a Karmic's little companion.
That's a great way to kind of honor her. So, I've seen the book up and it's available and things, and then I saw this coloring book that you did where it's like color along with the story. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so that started because of funding, right? Because it was really expensive to develop this book, no lie. So what I wanted to do, because it was cheaper to actually do the without colors, right? So I figure, okay, well, I've never really seen a coloring book that's actually a graphic novel, right? Where they can go and put their own words in and put their own dialogue and captions and that in, and then just kind of follow the story from there. I mean, it's a little bit different than the actual graphic novel. It's not like 100%, because there's a lot of pictures that I actually had the illustrator redo that I didn't have him redo until after the coloring book was already out. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to create this activity type graphic novel book to kind of fuel, like, to be another merchandise added to the collection. And I think I'm going to be doing that with all of the books.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, I thought so. People like it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, the whole adult coloring book thing has become big, and I
Yeah, it
mean,
has.
I
Yeah,
know Mike and I have even fallen down that rabbit hole a few
yeah,
times.
for some really cool stuff that we've
And
seen.
they're pretty detailed pictures, right?
Yeah.
It's not really, I mean, even though the children, the younger generation, like 13, 14 or whatever, or even younger than that, they really enjoy the story, but the story, the pictures are just so complicated that it's not really suited for anything younger than 13. I kind of do wish, however, we made it a little bit more simplified, but you know,
Yeah,
we'll learn as we
yeah.
go.
Then they could just buy
Yeah.
2 copies if they mess up the first.
Yeah.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
yeah, you can, and that's the thing too, is I kind of wanted to teach people a little bit, like people who are artists themselves who want to learn how to color and who want to learn how to do graphic
Yeah.
novels. I
Right.
figured this was a really good avenue
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
help with that.
Yeah, that
And
makes
even
sense.
just to see the line art, like to know when you see the finished product with all the colors, it's one thing, and the colors can do so much good to a book. And to see the line art and where it is before those colors is huge too.
Yeah, well, and
Yeah.
that for sure it's not AI.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah, that it's actually humans doing the art. That's important
I've
nowadays.
I've had a few people ask me if it was AI or accusing me directly of using AI. I was like, well, no, just look on social media and you'll see I post a line art and whatnot. You'll know
Oh
it's
my
AI.
gosh. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately that's the world we're living in now, I guess. But
Well, it would have been a lot cheaper.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then the characters that have 7 fingers and 8 toes and all that stuff, you know.
You can alter that though.
Yeah, you could probably fix that
Yeah.
after.
hmm
Um I think it's a really interesting project, and it's available now.
hmm
And before we talk about where it's available, before we wrap up today, is there anything you want to speak to the book about for our listeners, viewers? Any last, thoughts wrapping up? Or
Um, well, moving forward, going into the series, book two, book three, which I'm going to be starting pretty soon, I will be starting a funding campaign to help me with that,
okay,
just
great.
because like it is extremely expensive,
Hmm.
and I would like us to keep on going. Like, I would like this to be like a Simpsons, right, where you
Yeah.
grow up with the character. That's
Mhm.
my whole initial thing. I mean, I spent 7 years of my life developing this character,
Right.
putting every dollar that I've had into it. The moment I make money, I put it automatically into it, and I did
Hmm.
it, all myself, right? I funded it all myself,
Yep.
no help or anything of the sort. But moving forward or whatever, I will be putting up funding campaigns and that. So please watch out
Great.
for that, and please support it.
You think on
Have you decided
Kickstarter?
which
Yeah.
platform you're going to use?
No. I was thinking Kickstarter, but there's a time limit. You have to have a time limit. So I was thinking of maybe a platform where I don't have to have a time
It
limit on
stops.
it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
So this way, maybe I can even extend this funding into the games and movies and TV series and that sort of thing as well. And then just to
Okay.
have, the audience also participate in it as well. Because as it progresses on, I would like to take other people's stories and then implement them into a different volume, right? Where
Hmm.
they have their stories told through the character.
Yep.
Well,
That's
I would
cool.
like to do that, and
Like an
it's
anthology.
I won't be able to fund that myself.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. No, I think that's a pretty cool, future that you've laid out for the project. I think that's
Thank you.
that's interesting. And for our listeners and our viewers, where do you want to send them? I know the book's available on Amazon, but it's on the Karmic series website. It's probably the
Yeah.
best place to get it.
Karmicseries.ca is the website. I prefer people to buy it through my website just because,
So do
I
we.
make more money off of my
Yep.
website. And plus I can send you little goodies and whatnot when you purchase the book as
And
opposed with Amazon. And I don't really like the quality of Amazon, to be honest with you. So
mhm,
I go through a very specific printer that has really good quality and I can sign it for you as well, right? Where
yeah.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble and that, even though it's available, you don't get those perks.
Okay. Yeah, so available there, but if you can please go to the website, because it is a signed copy, which is,
Mhm.
for the speculators out there, that's worth a lot more than
Yeah.
no. But it also is cheaper through the website than what I've seen on Amazon. So
Yes, it
that's
is.
yeah.
Yeah. Amazon at one point was even selling it for $40. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
come
yeah.
on.
And I had no control over them, putting
Really?
price on
Wow.
it. So,
Oh,
yeah, I'm
that's
like, well, you
annoying.
really think I'm going to sell anything at $40?
Yeah.
Doubtful.
Okay. Well, and any social media you want our listeners and our viewers to go to where you're
Yeah,
posting
so
things?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, and it's at Karmic's page.
Okay.
Yeah, all
Great.
of them at Karmic's page.
And to everybody out there watching and or listening, remember that I will have those links in the show notes down below for you to check out, click, so you can buy all this great work. Check it out. Terri, thanks so much for being on the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and
Yeah,
best of luck with the book moving forward.
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for having me, and